We are live from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club as usual. My co-host Julia Vedekint is alongside, dressed in, I don't know if those are the University of California, Berkeley, Cal Berkeley colors, or the University of Michigan, or some other maize and blue like UCLA school.
No, I think it's both.
Speak up, Julia.
It's both.
Is it?
Yeah, Cal and Michigan.
Okay, well, that's...
And Amish.
And all right, welcome to the show, number 806. I was looking earlier today at show 355.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
I know.
It was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
500 shows. We're doing 100 shows a year, every,
Yeah.
2 a week,
Yeah.
50 weeks. We people checking in from around the world. John Emmett seems to be alongside Alistair Murray in Melbourne, much to my surprise when I opened up John's video this morning. We've got an AAAA and a combo AAAA and a John Emmett Coaching Corner report today. Mark Holland in cold but sunny Boston. Ted Ryan in Cape Town. He's met up with another Fozy, Jonathan Frank. Oh, he's also in Cape Town. Imagine that. Jonathan Frank, our airline pilot friend who gets around. Alan Long in Lago Vista, Texas, where it's 82 Fahrenheit and sunny. Hello, Andrew Watson in Glasgow. Nice to have you on again. Clay Embley's in the boat shop rebuilding winches. Rick Banro is in gusty cold Bergen County in North New Jersey. Snow due in any moment. Well, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody
does anything about
it. No. Pedro Foiling Sailors listening in from the Hunter Valley, north of Sydney. Stingray, yeah, the benefits of a criminal record. What he saw that in the show notes. Stingray up in Seattle, and yeah, you are starting to sound like John Emmett, Andrew Watson, but it's a good thing to sound like. Good evening from damp Shetland, Scotland. Graham Sweeney, hello to you. Rick Banro. He's at the Naval Academy. Imagine that in Annapolis. I assume that's what USNA, what that means.
Yep.
Clark Chapin in my home state of Michigan and Plymouth, just east of Ann Arbor. Jonathan Frank saying greeting to you, Julia.
Good.
On.
Claire Harrington.
What?
Claire Harrington's on too.
Oh, it's nice to see the Vice Commodore on. Blake Middleton. Julia looks spectacular as always.
Did I need to hear that today?
He's cuddling up to you. She came down here before she put her headset on. She said, "Oh, my hair's flat." And I said, "Well, it'll be really flat once you get your headset on, Julia, so don't worry about it." Hi, Ed Worley, up in NorCal, just north of us. Rick Banero, isn't JE on the no-fly list with that scrub? I know, we'll see. Andrew Watson, you probably already know this, but U.S. Sailing's non-sailing Senior Vice President of Partnerships and Membership, Eric Krasnew, has left the building, or at least their website. Yes, Andrew, sorry that they continue to have problems, and he was out of there by the end of the month of January. Those of you celebrating dry January, Julia.
It's February.
It's better to celebrate dry February. It's a shorter month.
Absolutely.
It's a shorter.
Always did that.
Schaefer's checking in from Annapolis. There's the Vice Commodore. I'm getting down to her comment. Greetings and salutations from her beautiful home in Greenwich, Connecticut. Julie Ahrens, we've missed her. She's been a little under the weather, but she's checking in from cloudy Cleveland on the South Shore. of Lake Erie. Julia's scarf looks like the University of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
7 degrees F. What is that? Minus 15 Celsius? 7 degrees Fahrenheit in Minneapolis.
Oh.
Josh Toso's in Baltimore at the Tall Ships of America Sail Training Conference, heading to San Diego tomorrow for the Leadership Forum. Josh, as you know, I'm headed down there as well for the Rolex dinner. Gordon Smith thinks that Trump made an error. He thought he would grab some wild beef in Canada. Oh, that deserves a finger wag, I think. Mary Jude Szymanski's on in Philadelphia. Magnus, the Magnificent. Good evening to you, sir, over in the UK. And on and on. And look at all the people, including Jody Shields down there at the bottom. Hello,
hi,
hello.
Jody. Yeah.
Nice to see Jody on, isn't it, Julia?
It is.
Well, I just want to open the show by thanking our fantastic, I couldn't come up with a word that started with P, Julia, for the alliteration, our fabulous panel from Friday's show. That was a superb show. We did this show about the Paralympics. We had our Paralympic panel.
Mm-hmm.
And what's a word that's for fabulous that starts with P? Paramount?
Okay.
The Paramount Paralympics panel, and they were just superb. Thanks again to John Emmett for putting it together. It was John, and then going across the top row, Scott Dougal, who is the communications director for World Sailing. It was nice to meet Scott, virtually at least, and have him. Yeah, Alistair saying a premium Paralympics panel. It was that too. And then Hannah Stodel, who is the events/Paralympics staffer for World Sailing. Lower left corner is, of course, Dan Jaspers. Well, I hope to see him sooner than later. Dan's living in Germany, a Brit living just outside of Hamburg. Magnus Wheatley was on the panel and was not afraid to speak his mind and say that he thought that World Sailing was not well led. He had a few words to say about the current president, not the staff, but the current president, and I think a lot of us shared his views. And then finally, we had Klaus Hulting in Sweden, who had not met a medical doctor, and a superb, bright guy. And he wasn't afraid, Julie, to use a few.
He was good.
He used the F-bomb on this show, and he used the BS bomb, I think.
He made his point.
He did make his point, and he made it well. Pedro Foiling Sailor is saying the perfection perspective of our Paralympics panel, I think he was talking about.
Yeah.
No show on Friday. I am headed to, you know where that is, Julia?
Yes.
That's a shot from Point Loma across San Diego. In fact, right over the top of San Diego Yacht Club. And over there to the, what is that? Looking west to east, north is to the left, to south is to the right in that shot. The ocean is to the right. We're going to be down on the Strand at the hotel. The Lowe's Coronado Hotel will be the venue for the U.S. Sailing's Sailing Leadership Forum all weekend. I'm going not to that because I'm not going to. It's an exorbitant price to go to it, first of all, and I don't want to go to what's a coaching fest. And I don't need to do that. I need to go there for the Rolex dinner,
right?
To see who. I'm a voter, so to get to see who is named the Rolex Yachts Women and Yachts Men of the Year at the nice dinner that Rolex and U.S. Sailing are putting on Thursday night. And then I get to go down after that dinner. And let's speak of the nominees before I tell you what I'm going to do after the dinner. Ian Barrows and Hans Henken there in the upper left corner have been nominated for their Olympic bronze medal in the 49er class. Travis Odenbach from that famously good sailing family on Lake Ontario, Rochester, and beyond. Travis is a superb sailor, two-time world champion. He's been nominated, as has Jeremy Wilmot, who's an Aussie from that Wilmot family, but he's been living in the U.S. for a long time, also a two-time world champion. Bravo to them as the finalists in the men's category. And then the women, our own Cole Brower, our own, because as you know, we made her our Yachts Woman
Person
of the Year, our Yachts Man of the Year, our Yachts Person of the Year.
Yes.
Bravo to her, and we'll see if she also wins the U.S. Rolex. I think it's possible. I'm not going to say for whom I voted, just because I don't think anybody needs to know for whom I voted.
No, they don't.
But we'll see. Also, Monica Morgan, who's a super crew, she has won a bunch of stuff in the past year in 2024. And my old friend, I think she's been on the show even, Hannah Sweat, long time, from a superb sailing family in the, Rhode Island and Philadelphia and New York area. Hannah Sweat, superb sailor, male, female, or otherwise, a New York Yacht Club member of considerable repute. She has also been nominated as a finalist, and we will find out on Thursday night at the Rolex dinner down in San Diego, and I will be attending, hence no show on Friday. I didn't want to carry a bunch of studio equipment down there and do a live remote. But also, I really didn't want to have to prepare a show because I'm going to spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday with my daughter Meg and her new husband Aaron. Looking forward to spending some time with them in San Diego. Julia?
Yes.
What are we celebrating today?
The beginning of the Year of the Snake.
No, we did that on Friday. There's your clue. What are we celebrating today? We are celebrating Facebook's birthday.
Oh, yay.
Facebook was launched on February 4th, 2004, 20 years ago, Julia, by Harvard student, as you all know, Mark Zuckerberg. The social media site was originally called
The Facebook.
The Facebook. You remember the movie Social? What was the name of that movie? What was the name of that movie? Social Media, Social something.
Yeah.
Larry Kennedy knew it was 2004. Facebook's birthday, known as Friends Day now, you got to friend your friends on Facebook, began as a celebration of the social network's launch. Initially, this day marked the anniversary of Facebook's creation, acknowledging its impact on connecting people worldwide, which indeed it has done, including our FOSI, the Facebook, as Clark Chapin says in Chicago. Over time, the celebration evolved to focus more on friendships and the connections made through the platform. Facebook started emphasizing the importance of friendships by sharing inspiring stories and launching features like personalized videos. These videos compile memorable moments with friends, making the day special for users. The company aims to highlight how friendships formed on Facebook have positively impacted lives, fostering a sense of community. And all I can say, Julia, is that for our FOSI,
Yep.
Facebook has been that glue that
Absolutely.
has, in large part, bound us all together. Andrew Watson, yes, The Social Network. Josh Toso, The Social Network was the name of that movie. And I have for all of you a special FOSI focus, speaking of Facebooks and making friends and contacting new friends through Facebook. Our focus, FOSI, I'm saying it correctly so
Thank
you
you.
don't give me a
Thank you.
finger wag. Friends of Sailing Illustrated in this FOSI focus, cool people, and cool people they are. This video came in this morning from guess who? You recognize
yes.
those gentlemen?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Ted Ryman
Facebook FOSI.
and Jonathan Frank.
Exactly. Jonathan Frank, who is an airline pilot, 777 pilot for United. He's done a trip to Cape Town, and the two of them, having never met, got together.
That looks like a great beer.
What kind of beer?
I don't know.
It's Guinness, of course. And not only did they send this picture, Julia,
Yes.
they sent a video. Have a look.
Hello, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI from beautiful Cape Town, South Africa. Ted here with Jet Lag Johnny. And one thing we can always say, Sailing Illustrated is a sailing program with a drinking problem, so we're trying to make sure that continues.
Oh, great.
But also, FOSI are friends, no matter where you are around the world. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Wasn't that
Pindar,
nice?
where are you? I want to buy your Guinness back for you.
Did you hear what he said? He said, Pindar,
Yeah.
where are you? Apparently, he owes Pindar a Guinness.
Uh-oh.
So I texted Pindar this morning.
Yes.
He must be on a plane or something. I said, send me a video. Please send me a video in response to this. So the best I could do was to do a little bit of Pindar photos and stick that in and then
Yes.
stick in a Guinness. next to his face so he could join at least virtually.
Yes.
Jet lag Johnny. And as I said in the show notes, Teddy Harley, or Harley Teddy, having a beer and saluting the Fozy in Cape Town in the Republic
That's a great
of
picture put
South
together.
Africa. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And yeah, Blake is saying it's more like a drinking program with a sailing problem. Well, we've been back and forth, but since I stopped drinking and Julia doesn't drink much, we're probably a sailing program with a drinking habit, or some of you have a drinking habit these days. So we're celebrating, those guys are celebrating Facebook's birthday without Facebook. I don't know if we would have done this show because
we couldn't have done it in the same way.
at least not to start with. And we would have ended up on YouTube eventually, probably. But people like Facebook for the commenting facility, to be able to
Absolutely.
get on and
So do
comment back and forth. And,
Yeah.
and throughout the show, in fact, and that we appreciate. We're also celebrating all of you who are Fozy, those of you who watch the show, those of you who contribute via Patreon, become a patron via Patreon. And thanks very much for your continuing support. Keeps our studio alive. We keep making little technical upgrades. We only spend your money on streaming. I just got the streaming bill
Yes.
for YouTube Premium,
Yes.
and I have to have YouTube Premium because, you know, we're looking at all these YouTube videos and doing a lot of stuff. And if I had to look through all the ads, or if I played a YouTube video here on the show and an ad popped on,
Yeah.
you would not be amused.
I would
Julia.
not.
So
No.
that cost more than I realized. That was one of those. Oh, it's like you. I have auto pay on a few things, and
Yeah.
you forget the subscriptions that you have. Thanks for your support. Those of you who give us a few bucks, like Fritz Mueller in Miami, who's been really a significant monthly contributor now for many years. And I appreciate Fritz and everyone else who helps us along. Now, this you may have seen in the show notes and in the comments in the chat, because I got a video this morning from John Emmett, and I was fully expecting the coaching corner, and instead I got an AAAA. And here is Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote that came from John Emmett, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on that I'm getting from John Emmett, an AAAA.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. This is AAAA, Alice's awesome Aussie anecdote, being brought to you from Melbourne, Australia. I suppose I guess you've seen the cat's out of the bag now that we're expecting Golden Lily Zhu, and John Emmett to be joining us at some stage, and we've got a great program lined up for Sandringham Yacht Club next Tuesday, where they're both going to be presenting their story. It's a great story. It's about sailing success. It's about coaching, and ultimately it's a love story, which I think is particularly attractive. Anyway, I really like Lily. I think she's fabulous. But just between you and me, Tom and the Fozy, I think John's a bit overrated. I've watched many of his shows, well, most of the contributions he's made to Sailing Australia. I'm not really sure he knows what he's talking about. I quite frankly, not that impressed. But I've got somebody here who might disagree with me. Maybe we might just bring this person into the discussion now. Hello.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. I'm not sure what's going on here.
No. This is AAAA. Don't bloody gazump me. Now, what do you think of my statement about you being a bit overrated?
I'm probably happier behind the camera than in front of it, but it's very nice to be here. And it's actually one of the reels I've done is this idea of a little bit of short-term pain for a lot of long-term gain.
Yeah.
And the weather in Australia definitely makes it worth the trip. And I do feel the pressure about having a little chat in Sandy, because I think most people are going to come to see Lily.
35 degrees today. It was pretty warm. Hey, cheers, by the way, and welcome.
Thank you very much. I was worried at passport control or whatever that I looked a dodgy character because I was sweating profusely and hopefully not looking guilty of anything, but they let me in the country.
So when John was coming through customs, as you know, Australia has a history as a penal colony. When John was coming through customs, they said to him, "Excuse me, sir, but do you have a criminal record?" And he said, "No, I didn't know you still needed one."
I just thought that the fact that I'd just come via the farm didn't particularly come in my thing, because I went home and celebrated my mum's 80th birthday. So thank you very much for wishing
Happy
her
birthday, Mum.
happy birthday. It's a scary prospect.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, Australia's very important for the previous show we talked about the parasailing,
Yeah.
and Australia is a very key part.
Yeah.
2032.
And we've been talking about the contacts that we both have in that world, the
the
parasailing
contacts
world.
you have,
Yeah.
and the contacts
And-
I would like to have.
And we've got meetings lined up already for this week where we'll be discussing it with influential people, and we'll be taking it a long way. But we'll be having a good time too. We've got plenty to show you. You've got a full program. I've got a full program. Just so you know, Tom and Julia, it's all your fault, by the way. John and Lily are actually staying at my house for 5 weeks. And it wouldn't have happened without Sailing Illustrated. But we love having visitors from overseas, and we particularly love having John and Lily with us. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And we'll be filming a few segments for Sailing Illustrated and trying to have a bit of fun along the way.
Absolutely.
And
Business-
drinking some beer.
Business as normal.
Yeah. The night on Tuesday looks like being well subscribed, and there's a lot of people going to be coming along, and people that even are not sailors, because I've told them it's a great story for non-sailors. And actually, I don't remember this, John, but Lila was interviewed on Bar Karate,
Karate, yeah.
in 2020, and I listened to it last night and was really, really impressed. She really comes across well. So looking forward to a great night.
Fantastic. And for the folks at home, if you haven't done so already, please do share, like, keep the comments coming. I don't know if anyone won some beer or lost some beer on the beard or no beard.
I've
You
got
can
the
play
beer
for
going.
both of us.
Yeah.
And do sail fast, sail safe, and have fun.
It's really great you always finish with that. And we're looking forward to a great time. And cheers to Sailing Illustrated. And we'll try and give you a bit of fun over the next few weeks. Cheers.
Cheers.
So I think it's appropriate that on Facebook Friends Day or Facebook's birthday or anniversary, we've got Ted and Jonathan. Now we've got Alistair and John. I don't know whether it's AAAA or it was the coaching corner, so I started with AAAA. I'm ending with the coaching corner. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. And gentlemen, thank you very much. That was very popular. Gordon Smith's wondering if John lost his luggage and had to dip into Alistair's kit bag. Ryman is saying, yeah, an extra cool AAAA. Indeed it was, and thank you very much. Go ahead.
I did listen to that interview that Lily did in the middle of the night. And
4 or 5 years ago on the podcast, on the Bar Karate. You know why that's called the Bar Karate podcast?
because it's
Because sailors
Yeah.
at the bar look like this. They look like they're, to non-sailors, they look like they're doing karate because you're saying, well, we went out to the port lay line, then we tacked, and we went on port tack over to
I
the
didn't know that,
starboard
yeah.
lay line, and,
That's
I
good.
faded into him, and I had to tack away for clear air, and to non-sailors, it looks like bar karate, and that's that Australian, it's superb
Yes.
podcast. It's very good, and she was on it. But you know what she's doing now? She's appearing next, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? I can't remember, but at the yacht club. Which yacht club? Put it in the comments, guys. At the Royal Sandringham Yacht Club, right? But and it's an Alistair Murray production along with the yacht club, and she is the guest speaker, and John's down there now to do some yacht racing and so on. I wish I were there. I mean, you'd
Yes.
love, as much as you like Australia, you'd love to be there too, right?
Absolutely.
John needs to be careful of the quokkas. He needs to be careful of, yes, Sandy, the Sandringham Yacht Club. Royal Sandringham, isn't it? It's the Royal Brighton, I can't remember. This Bar Karate, the sailing podcast interview with Lily was a superb interview. Christopher Gillingham agrees with you.
Yeah.
Julia, nice to see
It is.
Christopher.
And it's readily available too on the
Would somebody put the link, please, into the chat so that I don't have to do it? I know it was in our Facebook. It's not Royal. It's just the Sandringham Yacht Club. Thank you, Alistair. How do you shut an umpire up? Tie their hands together. That's pretty good, because umpires do the same thing. They're out there describing to the sailors, or when they do the debrief afterwards, they're out there doing the bar karate stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whoever invented that umpiring should have his head examined. Change the whole sport.
every day.
It changed the whole sport. Andrew, Dolly DeVola, I met and sailed against Lily a couple of weeks ago. She is lovely.
She is.
She is indeed. And smart and articulate. and arguably a better presenter, television presenter than all of us.
Yeah.
She can take over this show when I'm
That's
done.
a good idea.
Huh?
That's a good idea.
You and she can take it over, Julia. She can move here to San Francisco, move into the Beach Street Yacht Club. There is the link to, is that Stingray to that particular episode? Somebody who's got the link to that particular episode would be good because it was some years ago, but thank you very much to that. Thank you very much indeed. Now let's check in with the Vendée Globe, shall we, Julia?
Yes.
Getting near the end. It's day 86, and there's still some people 700, 800, 1,000 miles back, but some of our favorites have just finished. In fact, today, a couple of our favorites finished. And let's just look, since last Friday's show, we kept talking about Romain Atanasio because he was so far behind, as the leader of this pack, but so far behind the previous pack. So he and now Damien Seguin, who we talked about on Friday as part of the Paralympic panel, he challenged sailor. He's got one of his hands is not 100%. But nice to see him finishing in 15th. Benjamin Ferrer. How do you say that, Julia? Ferrer in French?
Ferrer, yeah.
Tanguy Turkay, Alan Rura, Isabel Yashka, who's Deutsch, who's German. I can pronounce German names. And then one of our favorites, Jean Lacombe, finished today in 20th. And we're going to have a video for him, with him in the final, in the last segment here in the D block. Conrad Coleman, we're also going to feature him in a moment. He has finished the Kiwi via the USA, the crazy Kiwi, they call him. And Giancarlo Pedote also has finished in the 23rd boat. I can't remember who it is, but they are some 700 miles behind this pack that has finished in the last few days. So these are the finishers since our show on Friday. Speaking of Conrad Coleman, I thought we should feature him here for a moment. He finished today, finished 21st, just behind Jean Lacombe. And he had this to say after finishing, when he was interviewed by Vendée Globe and their website. He said, "Together we beat the bad luck charm." He has a smile from ear to ear. Kiwi Conrad Coleman is happy to have made it to the finish of his second Vendée Globe. Almost single-handedly, he managed to set up a project, optimized and reinforced a previously unlucky boat, and above all, held out to finish the race. Yeah, he was on one of those boats that got in the way of icebergs.
Oh.
And managed to avoid them. I mean, he avoided the icebergs, but it was touch and go there for a while.
Yeah.
The crazy Kiwi, as they call him, was able to enjoy the whole race and gave it everything all the way round. 8 years after finishing under jury rig, Coleman had the pleasure of match racing Jean Lacombe to the finish line, only losing 20th by 13 minutes.
Oh.
So bravo Zulu to him. And then a little bit longer video than we normally play at six minutes and change, but on this crazy Kiwi, Conrad Coleman.
I mean, technically we are moving. Just really not very fast at all. So given that I have time, I want to show you something. So this is the engine, which of course I haven't used, but I wanted to show you that I haven't used it. And that's because, to make sure that nobody cheats, the race has a system of seals. So you can see this plastic seal with a number code on it. That goes through the transmission, and then with this metal wire here is connected to the boat. So if at any point during the course of the race the propeller turned, then that would rip the wire, that would rip the seal, and that would show that the engine had been used to make the boat go forwards. Every competitor in the Vendée Globe is required, just after the start, to send a photo of that system in place. The seal immobilizing the propeller shaft, and then that has been actually controlled several times during the course of the race to make sure that we haven't used it. Now, in addition, I'm the only one in the race to have added an extra one here, and so this is on the belt at the front of the engine that runs the water pump, and you can see I've got it around the belt and then around tube. And if the engine had run at any point during the course of the race, this would have been destroyed. And so that's my proof that I haven't used this engine at all for any reason, going forwards, backwards, sideways, charging the engine, charging the batteries or whatever. No engine for this entire time. And it's thanks to the seal that I can show that. So with 76 miles remaining, I think we can say I've gone around the world without burning any fossil fuels. And thanks to these Solbian solar panels and the Watt&C hydro generator. The mix of technology might be different from how I did it in 2016, but the end result is the same. I have now gone twice around the world in the Vendée Globe without burning any fossil fuels. And I'd like to encourage both the class IMOCA and the race to continue to adopt principles of trying to make this class and this event as sustainable as possible. There are steps that are being made in the way that the boats are being constructed, the sails that we get to use. I'm also the only sailor to have the complete set of green certified sails from One Sails. And so steps are being made, but I think that the next edition of the race is in 2028. Shortly thereafterwards, both in the United States and in Europe, internal combustion engines for cars are going to be outlawed. And so I think it's crazy that for a super high-tech class like this to be rolling into the next event with 100-year-old tractor diesel technology is just craziness. So I feel like I've done my part to show what's possible. Now I'd like to see that adopted more widely, both by the class and by the event. So there I am, already talking about 2028, 4 years time, and indeed that is my goal. My goal is to come back with a more competitive boat so that I can spend all of this energy at the front of the fleet rather than the back of the fleet. And certainly I've got lots of interesting, I hope, intermediary goals, races between now and 2028. And I'd just like to ask that you follow along for the ride, because when I got inspired to come and do the Vendée Globe in 2004, there was not this degree of media, certainly not in English, and it was a bit of a hard slog to come here, learn French, learn sailing, learn solar sailing, become fully integrated into the French scene. And the proof of it is that I'm the only Kiwi to have ever done that. The Vendée Globe, the Route du Rhum, the Solitaire de Figaro, all of these other events. And so what I'd like to do now is open the door behind me. I'm in the process of putting together a racing team that will hopefully take on more diverse events, hopefully with the integration of the ocean race circuits, both the Transat and the Tour of Europe. And I would like to hold this out as an invitation to you to come along, to join the story. If you're a sailor or an enthusiast or a sailmaker or whatever, please get in touch when we can have a discussion about how to get you integrated into the team. And otherwise, if you're just a fan, well, there's no just about it. That's fantastic. It is your enthusiasm that makes it possible for us to do what we do. Quite literally, this is a sponsored event, and it's thanks to you following along that we're able to find those sponsors. Yeah, speaking of finding sponsors, if you know anybody or if you work for an interesting company that you think might match both with ocean racing or indeed with my priorities, please don't hesitate to reach out on LinkedIn particularly as well. And launching a new cycle, a new campaign means new sponsors as well, and so I am forever in the search of people that would be interested in joining the adventure. So here we go, 80-something days around the world, 70-something miles ahead of me. Thank you very, very much for following along. It has been really, really cool to have your messages left in the comments below. It really gave me a boost when times were hard, when my feet were cold, when I was missing home. So I think that we can safely say that we did this together, and I look forward to next time.
Yeah, a nice video. We haven't, we followed him and we mentioned him in, practically every show, but there weren't many videos that were that engaging. At least I didn't think. I thought it was pretty cool, and let's hope he gets sponsorship for the alliterative, is that a word? The alliterative team.
Yes.
Crazy Kiwi Conrad Coleman.
Yes.
I have a grammar slide at the end of this show.
Oh, yay.
We're also a grammar show with a sailing habit.
And grandpas, too?
And no grandpas yet, not that I know of. One never knows what one finds out when one goes to San Diego and visits
that's
one's
right.
daughter. I'm not expecting anything. Blake Middleton, great update video, the challenges of getting set up for this event. Jonathan Frank agrees these high-quality videos have been outstanding. Andrew Watson as well. Understand a main sponsor stepped in, yes, at the last minute to get Conrad to the start line, so hopefully more sponsorship will make the next campaign smoother and even more successful.
Yeah.
Speaking of grammar, Julia, they call people, like we have our FOSI, Friends of Sailing Illustrated, people who have been on or support the Bar Karate podcast.
Yeah.
They call them
Karatians.
Karatians or
yeah.
K-A-R-A-T. That doesn't sound right to me. If you're watching, those of you running that podcast, and Jody's often on it, so he's watching, I would bar karate-ite. No, you don't like that? A bar karate-ite, like a meteorite.
I was thinking of Croatians.
Well, that's the problem with Karashian, K-A-R-A.
Yeah.
No one knows how to pronounce it. FOSI, everybody knows how to pronounce. Karate-ite. Karate-ite. I wonder what a person who is a karate player or athlete is called. Not a Karashian.
No.
That sounds like a Kardashian.
Yes.
God knows you don't want to be called a Kardashian.
No.
Alan Long says, well, you're not from Oz, Tom, so maybe it means something. Karateka. Fritz Mueller. Karateka. I don't know. Okay, that's gratuitous advice, probably not worth what you paid for it from me. The Karate Kid. I like that. The Karate Kids.
Uh-huh.
That's better. That is good, Alex Hayworth. Don't you like that, Julia?
Yeah, but they probably can't use it
Why?
because that's a franchise name.
Well, it might be, but who's going to complain? All it does is promote the Karate Kids movies.
Okay.
Isn't that several? Chop Sakis. Sounds like a vein in the side of your neck, pain in the neck. Yeah, your carotid artery.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. I agree with Wingrove. My subscribers are called 69ers, but let's not go there.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Magnus, that's good. The Rule 69 blog, the 69ers. I like that, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, enough of all that madness. Let's get on with this day in history. Julia, do you know what happened on this day in history? The 4th of February, 1987.
In the middle of a
Here's your first clue. Middle. I've distracted
AC.
you with the clue. It is. You're right. It is the middle of an AC. Actually, it's the end of an AC. Clayton Embley has it. Bravo Zulu. Clayton Embley. The cup, he says, comes home. This was to be your second clue.
Mm-hmm.
WA, Western Australia, the home of the America's Cup, was on their license plates when we got there in 85.
Mm-hmm.
Frio, Greg Phillips recognized that. Fremantle, Dolly DeVola recognized it, and indeed, this was race 4, the fourth and final race of AC 26. Ed Worley says yes. Also, the 1987 America. It was actually February of 87. The LVC started in October of 86, and the America's Cup did return to the shores of the U.S. The fourth and final race did the deal for Dennis for Stars and Stripes and Co. And guess what, Julia? We have a video that wraps this up very nicely. And this was, 38 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
37 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Hard to believe. Here's the video.
The America's Cup.
What goes down must come up. The Stars and Stripes wants the America's Cup.
Day 4, the morning of the critical race. Thousands of loyal Australians cram the harbor to see the gladiators sail out. What an exciting day! Stars and Stripes is towed behind the Betsy. Dennis Conner looks around, appreciates the fans' interest. Of course, most people are cheering for Kookaburra, but Stars and Stripes gets a good send-off. Peter Gilmore, Ian Murray wave to the crowd. 100,000 people line the shores. Murray has to feel inspired. Wow, that's a lot of energy. Look at this scene. It's never been like this in the sport of sailing. Stars and Stripes has a 3-0 advantage. Could Kookaburra win a race and prolong the series? Or is Dennis Conner going to get the albatross off his neck and rewrite history? The boats are in the starting maneuver. Stars and Stripes has to be careful. They're to leeward. The final countdown. We're listening to Peter Eisler, the navigator. Peter Gilmore at the helm of Kookaburra seems to fall off too much. Sailing away from the line, advantage Stars and Stripes. Tactician Tom Whidden loves it. Kookaburra tacks away. 24 miles and 8 legs ahead. Can Stars and Stripes hold on to their lead? Kookaburra tacks. Stars and Stripes on port has to be careful. She crosses by a length. Advantage Stars and Stripes. How about this? Stars and Stripes doesn't cover. Kookaburra keeps sailing on starboard. And a sail change aboard the Australian boat. The wind builds. They need a heavier sail. Don McCracken on the bow. Make sure everything runs smoothly. Beautiful change. They hardly lose any distance. Stars and Stripes on starboard with the right of way. And a 3-boat length advantage. The American boat is sailing fast. The breeze builds with Rottnest Island in the distance. Calm aboard Stars and Stripes. They tack over to cover. Kookaburra on the right follows suit and tacks away. They're hoping a tacking duel would work. Only one race to go if Stars and Stripes can hold on to this lead. Kookaburra seems to catch up a little bit. The wind's going light. Possible advantage to Australians? It seems as we get closer to the island, the wind is a little lighter. Stars and Stripes covers. Tactician Tom Whidden makes the right call. Down below aboard Kookaburra, the spinnaker is ready for the downwind run. At the windward mark, Stars and Stripes leads, but Kookaburra has caught up. Maybe this race she can pass the American boat. Nice spinnaker set aboard Stars and Stripes. Now it's Kookaburra's turn. At the finish line, Stars and Stripes crosses ahead. Dennis Conner has won the America's Cup against the Australians in their home waters. A dramatic turnaround after losing the Cup in 1983. A huge victory. Dennis Conner is happy. He's won 4 races to 0. This is one of the biggest turnarounds in sports. Dennis Conner has made his comeback. The Australian fans are happy for Conner. They appreciate good sailing, good sportsmanship. Conner and crew have done that. The Cup is heading back to the United States, but not Newport, Rhode Island, San Diego, California.
Dennis Connor's hometown. The crews cheer each other. Everyone's having a good time. Here comes the bubbly, and the supporters aboard Stars and Stripes, with the flag flying proudly. The America's Cup is about to change hands once again. At the prize giving, Dennis Connor and the crew are proud. The cup is handed over by Commodore Fred Fry of the San Diego Yacht Club. Congratulations, he says. The cup is on its way home.
As you might remember, I got a phone call from you back in 1983, and Tom answered the phone, I think, and he said, the president's on the phone. He wants to tell you that you fouled up. That's the printed version anyway. Well, you might remember that I made you a personal promise at that time to do everything I could to bring the cup back home to America where it belongs, so here it is.
A big victory like this, a ticker tape parade down Fifth Avenue. Thanks to Mayor Edward Koch and Donald Trump. There's the America's Cup. Summer in Australia, winter in New York City. The Stars and Stripes crew loves the attention.
That parade was 3 weeks later, but this day in history, Julia, that's what happened, at least in Oz, down in Australia, on the 4th of February, 1987. Very cool event, one of the greatest cups ever, if not the greatest.
Yes.
And to think that Donald Trump, almost 40 years ago, was somehow tangentially involved in the America's Cup, you would have never thought for a moment that he would now be president for the second time. Who would have thought, Julia?
Who would have thought?
Dennis Connor and Stars and Stripes. Team Dennis Connor representing the San Diego Yacht Club. Do you recognize this Fosey in this photo in the lower left? I've given you a more recent photo.
Yes. He looks really looks young there, but that's...
Who is that?
Isn't that
Come on, Julia.
John?
That is John. Well done. John Sangmeister, our Fosey down in Long Beach. He was a member of the B team. Look at how young and fresh he looks there.
Oh, yes.
Groover knew it. That was Sangmeister, part of the... And he tells a cool story about having gone, when they went to the White House, the B team got segregated off when the A team was having their pictures taken with Reagan or whatever.
Right.
And with the vice president, who was George Bush 41, is that right? Who was the first president, was then the vice president for Reagan. So he, as the B team, as the vice president, got shuttled off with Sangmeister and the B team. And they talked about, what the story of the B team is, they're kept in the dark and fed shiza. He said, yeah, I can relate to that. Sangmeister tells the story well. 41, Clayton Embley's, Bush 41, as opposed to his son, Bush 43, who was also president. The things you have to do to start a restaurant. That's a good point, Jonathan Frank.
Yeah.
Sangmeister has got not only his restaurant Gladstones in Long Beach, but he's about to have his restaurant Gladstones in San Diego, those of you following him. Thank you, Daniel Gruen. George H.W. Bush. Yes, 41 we called him. Let's update you now on the continuing S fight. Speaking of Shiza, the S fight between the Knights in the UK. And this article, remember there was the big meeting on Friday in London. It was not down at the Royal Yacht Squadron in Cowes. Somebody's going to run all the way down there in the middle of winter. But the AC-38 America's Cup teams meeting in London last Friday under the shadow of the Ainsley-Ratcliffe, I call it an S fight, which is a term of art in the America's Cup, as you know, Julia.
Yes.
An S fight. This from Sail Web, from Gerald New. He just had a couple paragraphs actually before the meeting. Since Ineos Britannia announced that it had parted company with Sir Ben and would enter a challenge for the 38th America's Cup with Dave Endine as CEO, who had been the COO of the team last time. There has been speculation as to the status of the Challenger of Record. Challenger of Record for AC-38 is, of course, the Royal Yacht Squadron, or their subsidiary Royal Yacht Squadron Limited, their sister company, represented by Ineos Britannia. That, of course, is the squadron down at the castle in Cowes on the parade there, the Isle of Wight. And Gerald New was speculating that the London meeting, which will involve the teams that took part in the 37th America's Cup and intend to challenge for it in 2007, so it was both sets of teams apparently, will want to hear some firm developments to the preliminary statement issued back in November. Remember, they were talking then about doing it maybe even as soon as 2026. Not a chance. Indeed, I don't think there's a chance it's going to happen in 2027 now, but we shall see. Yes, Tom Mitchell, Gladstone's Restaurants. One coming to San Diego, to Seaport Village. Particularly what the defender is proposing regarding the venue changes to the AC-75 design and plans to further commercialize the America's Cup, although without resolution of the RYSL-Ineos-Athena position. Gerald New speculated this may be difficult. This he wrote before the meeting, but it was the most prescient thing, I suppose. One hears,
Yes.
first of all, I know where the meeting took place, and I've heard a fair bit about what, and there aren't many people that know where it took place. Maybe Magnus the Magnificent does, but it was at the Centerview Partners offices. This is a small investment banking firm. I mean, they're worldwide. They've got offices. It's an American firm, actually, New York, San Francisco, London, and beyond. And the meeting took place in their sixth floor offices of what's called the Lucent, or the Lucent building in London, which overlooking London's Piccadilly Circus. Apparently, Mr. Dalton has some connections with this firm. Beautiful building. And I've not been to their offices, but apparently beautiful offices as well. Stingray is saying he heard there was a really big S fight during lunch about Brussels sprouts, our featured celebration on Friday's show. No, I don't think so, Stingray. Basically, it was a nothing burger. There was a lot of talk. What if? What about this? What about that? But until, and by the way, Sir Ben and the Royal Yacht Squadron, as does Magnus the Magnificent, writing about this over the weekend, insists that the squadron will be the Challenger of Record. There's no problem going forward. But again, you can say that, and as Bill Koch told me a long time ago, Tom, talk is cheap. And I've told you that story on this show. I won't repeat it. But until these two gentlemen get themselves sorted out, this the article, the picture from the article in Stuff down in New Zealand last week, late last week, the concerns for Team New Zealand as bitter British split engulfs the America's Cup. I mean, the implications are far further than just these two guys and their respective teams and the Royal Yacht Squadron, who the Challenger record is. But will the New York Yacht Club stay interested? Will the backers of the New York Yacht Club team re-engage and stay interested?
Mm-hmm.
Will the Swiss team, Ernesto Bertarelli's team, stay involved and stay interested? Or will they say, the hell with this? Grant Dalton made a lot of money, didn't share any of it with us, which is what Ernesto Bertarelli's complaint has been about AC-37. And he was furious, one hears reliably, about that. Remember, Ernesto, to his everlasting credit, after the Valencia 07, made a lot of money. He and his team, and we were the Challenger of Record, and we helped them set that up. But they did the heavy lifting for running the Challenger. Well, we ran the Challenger Selection Series, but they did the heavy lifting for the event, made a lot of money, and did a distribution, millions of dollars, according to a schedule of how well you did in the event. But the Challenger, who was New Zealand, I think got 10 or 12 million bucks out of the Defender after that event was over.
Wow.
We all got some money. We all got some millions of dollars. So Ernesto said, well, Grant, if you did such a great job in Barcelona, where's the money? Well, the money all went to spend. They went to paying for the Defender, their budget. And it went into the pockets of various people, not to any of the challenge. And there's a bitter acrimony still over that issue.
Why would he do that?
Because why? It's the human instinct, I suppose. You tell me. Graham Sweeney is saying, I'm going to report that, Graham, in a minute about his consolidation company. Make the cup even more commercial? Yeah, well, they'd all like to make it even more commercial, but it's not going to happen. So I think this was a big nothing burger. I think they're waiting for this thing to sort out. The other problem is that the Italians, one hears, have lost Pirelli, and that it's no longer LRPP, it's now LRP. And without Pirelli, who were a significant partner in that team, you wonder about Prada. How many times we were trying to decide that on Friday's show,
7?
Julia? As Mr. Bertelli, Patrizio Bertelli, challenged now.
I think it's 7.
7 times.
I think so.
We know that Sir Thomas Lipton did it 5 times.
Yeah, because I remember surpassing that.
And and you were always quite complimentary of him for having stuck to it for this long. So how many times has Patrizio Bertelli done it? We also know that he is not well. Sad to hear that his health, he's got a serious health problem. We hope he makes it. We hope he comes back and does another cup.
Yes.
He's been the patron saint of the cup now for a long time. And we'd love to see the Italians win it. I, more than probably anybody, would love to see the Italians win it and take it to Italy, if not New York Yacht Club, if not the Americans, for whom I'm still partial. But that is the issue. His son, who's been involved in the meetings in place of Patrizio, one hears, from multiple sources, by the way, his son is more interested in car racing than in boat racing. We'll see if LRPP is involved. And of course, the problem is once there is a hiatus like this fight, people lose interest. Life is too short. They go on and do other stuff. And we see what happens and what will happen.
Oh, Alex Hayworth said it's actually 8, but he pulled out of the 2017 cycle.
Good point. And Bill Wingrove said that too. Yeah, I think had he not pulled out, it would be 8. But he didn't do 2017. So we should not count that. 6 times for Mr. Bertelli, Steve Gruber is saying. But was it 6 or 7?
It's more than 5.
Yeah.
And I remember.
Go ahead.
I remember the 6th time, so I think that was 7.
Where's Magnus the Magnificent when we need him? So this S fight is going to. I mean, remember what happened? I was in the movie for a long time. I was playing a tangential role or a significant role, depending upon the year. But in 1988, everybody said, "Oh, this will be over, done and dusted in 6 months." Well, the cup, which we all hoped would be in 90, it was the 87 Cup we hoped would be in San Diego in 90, wasn't until 92. Remember that?
Yeah.
And the 2010 Cup, we all thought, oh, we'll get a settlement out of court. We'll somehow settle this between Oracle, Team USA, Golden Gate Yacht Club, and Ernesto Bertarelli and his fake yacht club challenger, CNAV, Club Nautico Español de Vail. They'll somehow celebrate this, and we will do an 07 Cup. We'll do another cup for everybody, not a deed of gift match in 2010, 20. Well, that didn't happen. We had a deed of gift match in 2010, and then the next cup was not here until 2013. That was fully 6 years for a proper multi-challenger event between 07 and 13. If this thing doesn't get settled, and I don't see how it's going to get settled anytime soon, the cup is not going to happen, in my never so humble opinion, in 2027. But we shall see. Steve Gruber is adding up, I think, Patrizio's participation: 00, 03, 07, 13, 21, 24, 2, 4, 6. So, has he done 6?
Yeah.
Bill Wingrove, I saw a video in the 88 match, and some guy was speaking about the match for 92. Yes, well, it did happen in 92. I don't know who that some guy was. Probably think he's making fun of me. I think Wingrove sent me that video, in fact.
Yeah.
In any event, I say again, and it's just like I repeated my mantra, that the non-sailing CEO has got to go. Well, follow the money, because the golden rule is still the golden rule. He who has the gold rules, or makes the rules. And I think in this case, if he doesn't lose interest, and he might, as we'll report in a moment, he's reviewing all of his sports.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's got lots of options to take.
Well, he does. He's got Manchester United to sort out.
Right.
He fired the coach last, October, whenever it was. But he may lose interest, or his partners. He's got 2 other billionaire partners in Ineos, and they may say, hey, you better come back here and pay attention to the shop here. But he may also say, now I've got a real chance of winning it, because I've sidelined Sir Ben, and I've got another CEO who I think is very good, and David Endine.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the design team. I've been through this twice now. I mean, could
know
be
how to do
remember,
it.
Larry Ellison went through it in 2003 after buying Kayard's team that was close but no cigar in 2000, and I was with that team, and one of the few that went from the 00 team to the 03 team.
Right.
We did 03 and 07, and Larry didn't win till his third attempt in 2010. And then defended in 13, and then lost it in 17. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Ineos selling non-core business areas, Alex Hayworth is saying. Yes, they are. We're going to report on that. Daniel Grun thinks that Daniel Grun is in Augsburg, Germany. Nice to see you on, Daniel. He thinks that Alex Hayworth says, Daniel thinks Ratcliffe will back out. But even if he does, Ben's still got to raise the money, and he's got to have a design team. And yes, he'll have a lot of people loyal to him, including sailors. But as I said on the Friday show, at the end of the day, the sailors will be loyal to their pocketbooks, because they got to feed their families. They got to pay their rent or their mortgage. And he who has the gold, and if Ben has the gold, then he's going to rule. But if he doesn't, Sir Jim may cut his losses and move on to a sport that is profitable, Ed Worley is speculating. Comparing a passionate sailor like Larry to Jim is nonsense, Daniel Grun is saying. Well, that could be. It could be that he lost interest in sailing, but we were all a bit surprised when he made that announcement 2 weeks ago that he was carrying on. And as DBA, doing business as Ineos Britannia, and David Endine had been promoted to CEO, and Ben was out.
Yeah.
It'll be a heavy lift for RYS. That's the other problem. Ed Worley's absolutely right. And Clay Embley's saying money talks, BS walks. But the other problem is the squadron number, as all these yacht clubs, which is why this America's Cup with billions of dollars now being thrust about, or hundreds of millions anyway. The number one job of any of these clubs is to protect the ongoing viability of the club. Exactly. And the squadron, as you know, Julia, doesn't want to get involved in a pissing contest and mess fight that drags them down.
Right.
And Magnus can talk in the blog, and as a 69er, I'm a 69er. I like his blog.
Yeah.
But the squadron is not as wealthy as some people think. They're not as wealthy as New York Yacht Club. They're not as wealthy as Patrizio, or as not as wealthy as Ernesto. Mm-hmm. Now, they have some members who are, to be sure.
Yeah.
But will they pony up? I don't know. Graham Sweeney's guess is that both teams are dead in the water. But we'll see. Speaking of Graham, he reported this. He sent this link to me this morning, or some of you will have seen it on our chat. Billionaire Ratcliffe plots the sale of the Ineos Hygienics arm. This reported by Sky News today.
Mm-hmm.
The joint owner of Manchester United is working with Interpath, which is a banking consulting firm, on the sale of a business he established during the pandemic to distribute hand sanitizers to National Health Service workers, Sky News has learned. And this report came this morning from Graham Sweeney. Thanks, Graham, for that. I don't take that as him, you tell me you think differently, Julia, but I don't take that as him, trying to get rid of some business to generate cash. Pandemic's behind us.
Yeah.
They started a subsidiary probably more as an eleemosynary, as a charitable effort. Hey, we'll do something here to quickly gin up our chemical business. We can make the hand sanitizers, which the world, particularly the UK, but the world was
Right.
desperately. We couldn't buy them down at the corner Walgreens or CVS, where you couldn't get a hand sanitizer. We had our friend, the Beach Street Yacht Club bartender, who was bringing them back from the hospital where he works.
Yeah.
So we had hand sanitizer here in Studio B.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we got Fozy. We got COVID anyway. Any Fozy know how old the shot of Sir James is? I think he means not this shot, which Sky News ran, but I think he means this shot. Let me go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shot. I'll get it closer up. Yeah, he looks
Old and tired.
But I saw him the other night on the TV, as I mentioned on Friday's show. I saw him. I saw a replay of the Man U game
And he looked
against
great.
Fulham. No, he didn't look good. He looked like this.
Ah.
That shot, I think, it's got an Ineos shirt on, so I don't know if that's from 2021 or 2024. But my goodness, he does look weathered, shall we say? Weathered
Well, he has good reason to.
in that shot. You are so nice
Well, he
and
does.
so charitable. What else do you think, Julia, while we're at it here? Tell us what you think.
Tell us what you think. I seem confused between Michigan and Cal.
You do look very Cal. I think UCLA, you don't like UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. Let's call it University of Michigan just for
Yes.
my purposes.
Yes.
I should have worn, what is your color? Not scarlet.
Cardinal.
Cardinal red, just cardinal for Stanford.
Yeah.
Should have had on my Stanford sweater that I wear to the Stanford football games. So I'm a surrogate, I'm a lookalike.
Oh, yes.
And I have a Stanford hat that Andy Rose gave me so that I look like an alum. Oh, did you go to Stanford? I said, no, I went to a simple country boys school, a simple public school in Michigan.
That's 14 times bigger than Stanford.
Well, that is true. It is. And at least we're not a diploma mill like some other schools we could talk about, Julie Aarons, like Ohio State or Michigan State. Okay, enough of all this. Let's think about previewing do our theme here, previewing the KPMG Australia Sail, and not Australian, by the way. Speaking of grammar, there's no N. They're calling it the KPMG Australia Sail GP. They wouldn't call it the British or the England Sail, the England F1 GP. They call it the British Grand Prix in F1. Go Cardinal, go Julia. Blake Middleton used to coach at that school.
Yes.
Is partial
Yes.
as well to your school, Julia. But here is the preview and there's not a lot of material. There's not a lot of content out there to be had. Early in the week here, it's Wednesday down there now, so maybe they'll post some more videos, but there's precious little content, a couple articles that have popped up. But here are the results, the league standings. No, I beg your pardon. Here are the results of the previous match, the Auckland Sail GP from not quite a month ago. And I will show you the overall results in a minute for season 5. But as you know, Tommy Slingsby there in the middle won. The Spanish were second, and Emirates GBR Dylan Fletcher, who I think is the future of the British America's Cup efforts, whomever that may turn out to be. Count on Dylan Fletcher to be on the wheel, on the stick, on the helm. Fourth place was New Zealand. They didn't get on the podium for their own event. Denmark was 5th, Italy 6th, Switzerland 7th. Germany, Deutsche Bank was 8th, Mubadala, Brazil 9th, Canada 10th, and the United States was 11th.
You did mention Diego Bedin.
I'm going to answer my phone for the first time in memory during the show.
Yes.
Because I'm being interrupted here by Andrew Pindar, who's calling me on WhatsApp. Andrew?
Hi, Tom. I've got you at the wrong moment. I'm in New Zealand.
Welcome to the show, Andrew Pindar. I don't have the phone hooked up, but tell us what you're doing in New Zealand.
Oh, well, our daughter emigrated here a year ago, so we're spending 4 weeks in doing everything from Sail GP to going to Stewart Island and taking in everything that's marvelous about New Zealand.
You are replying to my texts, several texts of earlier today.
I am indeed.
Well, I will have you know that in the A block, we played a video of Jonathan Frank, the 777 pilot, who is in Cape Town drinking Guinness with guess who?
Ted Ryman.
Yes, the two of them sent a 30-second video, which I ran in the A block. And at the end of that, Ryman says, I wish Pindar were here, or said something about you because I owe him a Guinness. And he wanted to have you join in. So I was trying to get you to send me a video from somewhere, but you're probably just getting up. What time is it in Auckland?
It's 11 o'clock in the morning here, and we're about to go for a sea swim in the Pacific.
That's what I mean. You're probably just getting up. You were probably out till 3 or 4 in the morning, just getting up at 11 in the morning.
I would have been had Ted Ryman been here.
Okay. Well, I see that you're calling in, and I'm interrupting. We're on the segment doing the preview for the Sail GP. Are you going over to Sail GP?
No. Sadly, we have to head home on Sunday, but after a month away here. But I'll be watching it with interested eyes.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. We even had a picture of you in the A block with those two croutons. They're not croutons, those two characters, as they were wishing you were there to drink a Guinness with them.
Yeah, well, great. Well, I hope the show goes well, and I'll catch up with everybody soon, Tom.
Okay, take good care.
Bye.
Andrew Pindar checking in from New Zealand, where he's just getting up out of bed at 11 in the morning, right? No, I'm sure he's been up.
No.
Okay, so R.I.P. the Aga Khan. Has the Aga Khan passed away, Mag News? Oh dear. The Aga Khan, who was a big supporter of the Cup in the 80s, he was the founder of the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda. Sad news from Italy. Magnus, R.I.P. the Aga Khan. So there's some breaking news. He was a big backer of Yacht Club Costa Smeralda's America's Cup efforts and of Maxi Racing. If Andrew McIrvin is on here, I'm sure he's met the Aga Khan, as had I and others. His Serene Highness, I think was
Magnus says yes.
Oh dear. Well, that's sad news. Blake Middleton says he is not going to call. Yes, let's wrap that up. May he rest in peace. The Aga Khan, HSH, his Serene Highness, I think was his title. Yeah, Blake's not going to call when we're live here on the show, Julie. But back to our story here. We're an hour and 12 minutes into this show. And we're previewing this weekend's Sail GP. It's already back, which is good news. So you can see here the results of the Auckland Sail GP. And can Tom Slingsby repeat? And can the Americans get out of the basement? They were doing well at the first regatta in Dubai. They finished on the podium, third, and then we thought, okay, now they finally have turned the corner and are going to do better.
But didn't they have an accident in the boat?
Well, they did, and who knows? But you got to play over these things. Like you got to play over the referees, right?
Yes.
Like I can say that as an old hockey referee. Don't blame me. We're going to make mistakes. We're only human, so play over us. But the Americans were last. In Australia again, and I think it's because of their lack of foiling experience and the change from the L foils to the T foils, I think completely flummoxed Taylor and co. And he said I guess this was an Instagram post, he said, we know we've got, and just a few days ago, we know we've got a lot more in the tank as a team. We've just got to keep pushing. Okay, well, keep pushing, Taylor. And interesting that those of you who read tea leaves, Mike Buckley, who is the team CEO, seems to have gone to ground. He's not appearing in a lot of, if any, media, very little media, very few photos. Taylor seems now to be fronting the team as he did in Auckland.
Yeah.
And I thought this post was interesting too. So I'm not sure what's going on there. If any of you knows, let us know. Daniel Grun is saying there are 12 teams to race in Sydney. France is back. Yes, we've seen that as well. So that's great news. France is back, but the story continues, I think, the story continues to be these foils and how quickly the teams are adapting to these new T-foils and the ability to trim them fore and aft and beyond, up as well as up and down. So here is a video that has been, it's the best video that's been released, in my opinion, since Auckland. And it talks about the challenges of the T-foils from the various, several different teams' aspect or perspectives.
I think the great thing with Sail GP is the class keeps evolving. Here we are, T-foil's first event in Auckland. The T-foil is a lot more efficient in the water. We went from carbon to titanium, so that means we can go for a thinner cord and shape. We can cavitate later, so we can push the speeds higher than 100 kilometers per hour.
7, 8. Oh, wow. Oh. Yes.
Oh, well, smashed it. Nice.
I believe the Canadians will have a slight advantage from doing more testing, but to be honest, from looking at the data, there hasn't been a huge gap between them and the other teams.
We've seen out here in the last couple of days in Auckland that we're able to push them really downrange and still put a really good product on the water.
The boat feels very different. From the L-foils to the T-foils, the first couple of minutes were very strange. Somehow the boat feels bigger. You really feel the power in the boat. It accelerates much quicker.
Oh, just angle brake trim now. Come on, look at your wings.
And the maneuvers are very different. So you can see all the teams are trying different things at the moment. It's really interesting to look at the data overnight.
We have an added feature in them now with adjustable cant. So we can basically adjust how far under the boat the dagger board is or how far outboard it is.
As you can see here, we've got a ram, an hydraulic ram, that this is how we move the board in and out. And we've got another one to move the board back and forth. And then we've got also the board up and down. So here I have 2 foot pedals. One is for daggerboard down and the other one for daggerboard up. Simply have to touch this one time and the board will start dropping.
It's amazing what a little wind will do on these F50s.
So it's one parameter in addition that makes the boat a bit more complex to sail. I think it's not harder, but it just adds variability, and I think the boat has more control, but you'll see more differences in modes between the team. We immediately saw this as an opportunity because all the teams will have the same amount of time on the T-foils.
It'll level the playing field while we're all in the learning stages, but there's still plenty of room for variability in it that's going to make for entertaining racing.
Good video, eh?
Yes.
I thought it was a good video. There's a lot of, I don't know what this is at the end. We finally get to the logo. I want to keep it running till the logo comes.
Yes.
So they can see that Rolex is the title partner of Sail GP. Rob Fry, interesting comment. The U.S. and Canada were the ones that got the training time, the bulk of the training time on the T-foils, yes, and they still struggle. Well, Canada had an injury, and apparently that really hurt them badly during that regatta. Andrew Dolly DeVola is saying only one day of practice this week, being Friday, as a cost-cutting measure, not good for teams that need time to improve. I wonder if Rob Fry could confirm that. I hadn't heard that. I don't doubt you, Dolly, but Rob, whose son, Leo Takahashi, our Fozy, is aboard the Black Foils, the Team New Zealand boat, Julia.
Well, I was trying to figure out why one practice sail would be so expensive that you decide not to do it.
Oh, you got to put all the boats in the water. You run the risk of hurting the boat. It's a big.
It's not just one boat.
You can't let one team and not let all the teams. So it is a big expense. Andrew Pindar is checking in now, having come on by phone there, as you heard. Alistair Murray, Australia, definitely on the travel agenda, but needs a visit in its own right. Anyway, we have an Around Alone anniversary barbecue at Emma and Mike Sanderson's this coming weekend before heading home on Sunday. Okay. Yeah, adjustable cant. It's 3-dimensional adjustments, Alan Long, as you saw there. And that was a good video, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
These foils are quite the dolphin slicer. I hope not, Ted Ryman. I hope not.
They could be. They are sharp and thin.
Well, they are indeed, and they're also the noise. I think the dolphins can stay out of the way. They're pretty smart, but some other animals may not. Foil shape can make a huge difference. Julie Aaron says getting used to change can be tough. On tacking, jibing, and so on. Ed Worley agrees it was a nice video, and Rob Fry confirming yes, only practice racing on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. The Sail GP in what I would have called the Australian Sail GP, but nonetheless, the KPMG sponsored Australia Sail GP is this weekend. Your Down Under, Saturday and Sunday, our Friday and Saturday. Now, this article appeared today on the website apropos the foils, because I still think that's the big story, or the T-foils, and the acclimatization, is that a word, Julia?
Yep.
Becoming acclimated to those foils. In this article, in an interview by the Sail GP folks of Tom Slingsby on winning Auckland, okay, I'm not going to cover that, but also mastering the T-foils and taking on the Fleet as the hometown favorite in Sydney. But it's the foils that I'm going to focus on. And he is quoted as saying, well, for some teams, particularly the greener ones, racing with the T-foils for the first time in Auckland was a daunting challenge, but not Australia. Quote, we were looking forward to the new challenge of mastering something we haven't faced before in Sail GP, says driver Tom Slingsby. The driver.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote continues, trying to adapt to something like that was a challenge that we really enjoyed, unquote. The team, he says, was comfortable with the new equipment right away. In training, we felt any time we were near another boat, we felt like we were going quickly. We felt good. 2 days of practice racing followed with the Fleet going head-to-head on the start line for the first time. Once again, it was Australia which excelled, winning all 6 practice races across the 2-day schedule in Auckland. Quote, Tom says, we adapted to the new foils quicker than the other teams for whatever reason, unquote. And they go on to say here, the team's performance attracted the attention of the rest of the Fleet, with teams immediately delving into Sail GP shared data to see what the Aussies were doing differently. Quote, everyone had their own philosophies on how the foils should be used and what settings should be used in place, and we had ours, Slingsby says. And he goes on to say, after practice racing, everyone started coming out way and having similar setting. I think he said, and they misquoted it, our way and having similar settings. So that was in Auckland. I still think that's going to be the big challenge for this weekend. It's apparently going to be breezy again. Is that true? Those of you in the chat who know better down under, those of you particularly in Sydney who know the weather. So we shall see if it's going to be equally. It was pretty breezy as you saw, in Auckland. Here now are the season standings with Emirates GBR at the top, Dylan Fletcher. Will he be at the top of the heap at the end of the season? It would not surprise me in the least. Will he be with Ineos or with Athena in the next America's Cup?
Mm-hmm.
Follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
He's on top. The Kiwis, Pete Burling in second. Will Pete Burling do another cup? There's a question for you. And Tom Slingsby is in third. And if he wins again, that will boost his standing, in the season standings. The surprising to some, but Diego Botín, who's been lurking and on and off the podium all last season, he is in fourth, and he and his team are going to be a power, no doubt. Nikolai Sehested, who was in the basement 2 years ago, he's climbing up the ladder. The French, who haven't raced a race yet, and Julia, they're in fifth place based on average points, just on points awarded to them by the league. The U.S., despite they're on the podium the first event, and then in Dubai, and then last weekend they finished DFL, so they're in seventh. Then the Switzerland, then the Germans, then Canada, Red Bull Italy. Jimmy Spithill's team surprisingly down the leaderboard, and then the brand new, as is Red Bull Italy, but Mubadala, Brazil, Martina Grail's team in 12th, and as Daniel Gruen points out, a big gaposis, as my dad would say, between 4th and 5th. I think that's a fair statement, a fair comment. So that leads me to asking all of you, the Fozy, starting with Julia, we'll ask you first. We'll do a Fozy poll here, Julia. Who's going to win in Sydney this weekend?
Well, I'm still looking at Diego Botín.
You picked Diego Botín. You just like the cute young guy.
I do, but I like the way he sails, and
Okay, so your pick is Diego. I hope Clark Chapin is writing this down for us, because we're going to check next Tuesday. No show Friday, but next Tuesday. Who else has a prediction? Ryman says the French. The French are going to win this. I doubt it, Ted, but we'll see. Andrew, see Dolly DeVola saying Sydney forecast 10 to 15 southeast, not our sea breeze, unfortunately. It's still nice breeze. Rob Fry is going with his son's team with Leo Takahashi's NZL, the Black Foils. Claire Harrington, who has a thing for Tom Slingsby, he having skippered the New York Yacht Club America's Cup Challenge. She really thinks Tom is the cat's meow. Has picked Australia, as has Blake Middleton. Ted Ryman is now, what are you doing, Ted? You changing? He said, first he said France could win. Now he's picking, where's Ryman? He's picking Dylan Fletcher, the Brits will win. Daniel Gruen says Australia will win. So does Ed Worley. Alistair Murray, I have to say Slingsby. It's my job as the past president of Australian Sailing. Stingray is saying New Zealand, followed by Australia and Great Britain. Well, we'll just hold you to New Zealand, Stingray. John Albert Collings, Australia on home water, not biased at all. And John, an Aussie, he thinks it will be Tom Magnus, thinks it'll be Burling, Pete Burling. Julie Aarons, of course, going with New Zealand. She partial to Grant Dalton and to Pete Burling and co. Thierry de Jong says the Aussies will win in Sydney. Slingers, we got to have some kind of a prize. Maybe I can get a bottle of bourbon cream out of our good friends in Kentucky for the winner of this poll. I will get it to you one way or another.
The others have a good chance in Sydney because they sail really well.
Well,
there.
but these guys are all pro. Guys and gals are all pros. They've all sailed a lot in Sydney Harbor. Yes, Tom may have some home court advantage, but I wouldn't count out any of these teams except maybe some of the lower level ones. Buckley, Stingray, I don't think anyone else has said that the Americans might win, Stingray, but who knows? Who knows? There's some interesting comment. Greg Norman is on. Hi, Greg, from the Great Lakes YouTube channel, the Great Lakes Sailing YouTube channel. Learning the minute changes of adjustment on the joystick are more complex than you can imagine. Time in the boat is the only process that will make it more successful. I was lucky enough to see it firsthand in Chicago and Saint-Tropez, and I was amazed how specific you need be, and paying attention at high speed is a real skill. Håkan Hawkinson saying some of these things like wings and T-foils ought to be discouraged as they're impossible for recreational sailors, so there is no trickle down. Interesting comment. Several of you will agree with that, no doubt. Clayton Embley says, you got it, meaning a bottle of Julia, we haven't poured any of that in your coffee today.
Oh.
I did a little reshift, a little shift of my back table here.
Oh, well.
I've seen. You want some of this?
Oh, it's medicinal.
We got a medicinal. Are you ill? The bourbon cream. We got to give you a little bourbon cream, Julia.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Yep.
Let's pour a little in there on I got to show it on the camera here. We can't just do it on any old camera. We got to do it on camera too. You want a big pull?
That's it.
Would you think poorly of me if I took a...
No.
You know what? I'm going to have a little of my coffee too.
Yes, why not? It tastes good.
It's
That's like putting vanilla in.
The bourbon cream. The show is brought to you by the Fosey, by the way, not by Bourbon Cream, but we sure appreciate Clayton Allen Embley's support of our medicinal habits here. Okay.
Very good.
Julia, I hope Yemen would have any. Yeah, okay. Buckley, of course, was a joke. Stingray is saying, yeah, he's not been too fond of that team. Catherine Shaw. Hello, Catherine. She's saying definitely the Aussie team. Anybody else? Mark Wharton Reed, yeah, we just heard from Magnus Mark that the Aga Khan Adzura from the 83, 87 Cups and the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda has sadly passed away. That coast, you know what he did, Julia?
Ooh.
The Aga Khan. a lot of you on here may not know this, but he is fabulously wealthy. I don't remember the sect, the Muslim sect, but at least in the early days, I'm not sure it's true today, but he used to on his birthday get his weight in gold from his.
Oh yeah, I remember
that was the tradition, right? Well, he, a savvy businessman and investor, bought up the Emerald Coast, which was the northeast, among many other things. He bought up the northeast coast of Sardinia.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's called Costa Smeralda.
Oh,
it's the
yes.
Smeralda in Italian means emerald. He
right.
bought up the Emerald Coast and created I mean, it's a beautiful scene there. Not only is the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda in that inlet, in that little bay, but there are fancy hotels, there are fancy restaurants. It is a social scene par excellence.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
In the spring, summer, and autumn.
Autumn.
In the autumn. And may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Tom's oiling up Julia. I don't think so. Medicinal, indeed. Thank you for the link, Clark Chapin, a Wikipedia link on His Serene Highness the Aga Khan, who has apparently passed away. It's great stuff, that Buffalo Trace Bourbon Cream. Tom Ogletree agreeing.
Mm-hmm.
It was right on the top. It is. I like it. I'm sorry to the Irish friends. I've been a big fan of Bailey's. We have a good mutual friend, a member here of the Beach Street Yacht Club, Mario Schumann, who loves to have Bailey's in his coffee every morning, I think. But I like this. This is a little smoother. Bailey's tastes to me a little bit like it has a coconutty. Is that a word? Coconutty.
Well,
taste.
it's not, but I don't think it does.
I do. I think it tastes to me like Aga Khan.
I like Aga Khan.
I just read. I'm doing too many things at once. I said Clark Chapin's comment, actually Aga Khan the Fourth. Yeah. Okay, I think we got that poll out of the way. Magnus is helping us here. The 49th hereditary imam of the Shia Ismaili Muslims. Thank you, Magnus, for that bit of information. And as I said, I knew him, I met him, he knew me, didn't know him well, but he was always very kind, very polite. And, he'd show up at the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda for a Maxi World Championships when I was chairing the jury or whatever else we were doing there, 12-meter association meetings. He'd show up, open the meeting, was very kind, very calm, very hospitable. And the late, great Gianfranco Alberini, who was his Commodore, Commandante. He was a Commandante in the Italian Navy, Gianfranco Alberini, and he ran the yacht club for the Aga Khan, and great club that it is to this day, thanks to those two gentlemen and many others. Okay, just one last note here on Sail GP. It is this weekend. Rick Banner was saying that he passed away peacefully in Portugal today. In Portugal, the Aga Khan. But back to Sail GP, it is this Saturday and Sunday in Sydney. That means it is our Friday and Saturday. We're not going to do any watch parties because, as I said at the top of the show, we'll repeat. I'm going to be in San Diego this weekend, so no Friday show.
Is it going to be on YouTube?
Yes, you can watch the event on YouTube. It'll be free to air here in the U.S. It also will air delayed on CBS, I think the CBS Sports Network. But the timings are 1500 local, both Saturday and Sunday, 3 in the afternoon in Sydney, which is 8 at night, 2000 here Friday and Saturday here in San Francisco. So 2300 on the East Coast of this country, and 0400 UTC, the middle of your night in Europe. All those poor guys named Aga, did they have any choice? Well, probably not, Stingray. May he rest in peace. He was a fine guy and a great supporter of our beloved sport. That gets us to the D block and the last leg. And what I've got for the last leg is a video. I promised during the Vendée Globe segment to go back and revisit Jean Lecombe. He also finished today just ahead of the crazy Kiwi Conrad Coleman. He finished 20th, and Bravo Zulu to him. Here is Jean Lecombe and a brief video. It's in French, but it's got great lower thirds. It's got a great translation in the bottom. enjoy. This gentleman is 65. He turns, I believe, 66.
Got great hair.
He does have great hair, doesn't he?
Uh,
He turns 66 in April, and he's just completed this race yet again and finishing in the top 20, barely, but nonetheless, Jean Lecomte, age 65, finished 20.
terrific.
Stop pour l'arrivée de Jean Lecomte. Tout commence en finisseur. Armand Lux, bravo Jean.
Maybe I'll read these for those of you, read the English, for those of you watching or listening but not watching. Yesterday we were really just alongside Conrad Coleman. It was a good finish. I was quite pleased to take the lead. Yeah, you heard Conrad's video as well. I'm also really glad to have finished. Beautiful scenes. What a great race. Champagne, champagne. Big hugs. That's Conrad, isn't it? Look at the people. Being at the start is one thing, but finishing is another, he says. You often find yourself thinking during the race, is this actually going to work or not? And you have to maintain your drive right up until the end. Because there are always times of hope and struggle.
Yes.
We're here because you're here, that's for sure. Look at that crowd.
Oh, isn't that fabulous?
Okay, so a nice recognition in the last leg of Jean Lecomte's accomplishment. I'm an American, but I do not know how to read. Gruber is saying, making fun of me. Looks like the now deceased Marty Allen's wig. Yeah, the late great. But what a head of hair he's got. But what a fabulous guy. What apparently a great personality. Remember, he was involved in that rescue last time.
That's right.
Remember that? I got to turn your mic up, Julia. Sorry, you were saying that's right. Fabulous stuff. And that completes, except for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Julia.
Yes.
And we got 4, I think, I put in the show today. This one from Graham Sweeney, no surprise. Welcome to Scotland. All Americans must be accompanied by an adult. Graham! I'm hurt. I mean, Julia. You don't mean that for Julia, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm
Graham.
sure he does.
Huh?
I'm sure he does.
All Americans must be accompanied by an adult. Hurt me. Yeah, not much gray hair, Ted Ryman is saying about Jean Lecomte, and I don't think he dyes his hair. Okay, that was that one. Now, since this is a grammar show with a sailing habit, this is clever. My 3 favorite things in life are eating my cats and not using commas. And you can talk about whether you use the American system of the comma after the first in a list of the first 2, but not between the second one and the and the Brits use it before the and. But clack, 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 Tom Ogletree. My 3 favorite things in life are eating, comma, my cats, and not using commas. Yeah, we've seen variations of that. That, of course, we may have to make her our chief grammarian.
Yes.
The very clever and erudite
Yes.
Claire Harrington, Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club, sent that one along.
Mm-hmm.
This one came from my daughter, from Meg, and I'm really looking forward to going down and seeing her and her husband. I haven't seen them. Well, they were up here a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Babe, what cologne do you have on? I feel like my whole body is loosening up. Does that deserve a finger wag?
No, it's true. It's got to be true.
It's got to be true. It's the Yachtsman's cologne.
Yeah, WD-40.
WD-40. That courtesy of Meg, of daughter, the beloved daughter.
Yes, that's good.
And helped found Sailing Illustrated. She did some work.
She did.
Clark Chapin is saying, "Oh, don't get me started on the Oxford comma. I argue about that with my son, the journalist, all the time."
Mm-hmm.
I like using the Oxford comma myself. I like using WD-40, but not as cologne, please. And finally, several of you sent this on. I think I used this years ago, but it's worth using again. I think this looks like, forgive me for saying this, looks like Gordon Smith. El Gordo, as he's becoming known among the Fosi, I see. His nickname has become El Gordo.
Mhm.
Gordon Smith, a Brit living in Denmark. He didn't send this, I don't think, but several of you did. My mother-in-law sent this shirt all the way from England. She must really like me. I think it's from a yacht club, Julia. You
Mhm.
get it?
No.
Do you want to wait till the comments get it and somebody writes in the comments?
Yeah.
Well, what's that on his T-shirt,
A W and a anchor.
right? And pronounce them together.
Wanker. Okay. All right. I got it.
I think that's sent from my mother-in-law. She must really like me. I think it's from a yacht club.
Okay.
This is
All right.
This is a yacht racing show. We should all have a wanker T-shirt. There, Ryman's got it all. Just wag your finger, Julia. We could be instead of the Fosi, we could be the wankers, but somehow, huh?
No.
That's not correct. Is
No.
it? Okay, that gets us through the show to the finish line. Thank goodness, Julia. You like to say?
Yes. Like, follow, and push the button and share with everybody.
It's nice that you say it at the end of the show, and John Emmett says at the top of the show, and he does his thing. Comments are welcome, as we always say, even in replay, and we sure do appreciate those of you who support us. Not only watching the show, but, just commenting helps the algorithm, helps push us up
Right.
the ladder on both Facebook and on YouTube. But those of you who give us a few bucks a month, like Fritz Mueller, as I mentioned during the show, he gives us 10, Fritz, you don't mind me saying, he gives us $10 a month because that's a magazine subscription for some other senior series subscriptions. And that goes a long way. We only use it for paying the streaming bills and the equipment and my ever increasing power bill here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. When we don't, like this week, we only do one show. I will get those notices now from the energy from PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. And in a week where we only do one show and I don't do any other testing, our bill is lower. They'll say your energy usage was lower and here's how much you spent, all that. Bloody hell. Okay. Thanks, Thierry de Jong. Thanks, everybody else. Thanks for your support. Those of you who have joined via Patreon or send us a check in the mail, whatever, it helps keep us on the air. The show is well and truly brought to you by the Fosi, the Friends of Sailing Illustrated, especially the Super Fosi. Blake Middleton is honored to keep adding my monthly SI Patreon contribution. We're honored to have you, Blake. Who's another one who stopped drinking. He's given up the terps, as the Australians would say. The terps, you heard that expression? Are you on the terps or off the terps? I guess it's short for turpentine. I don't know, but that's what the Aussies call the booze. Fritz Mueller got to go. Thanks as always, Tom, Julia, and the Fosi. Thanks to all of you. Thanks also somebody asked me the other day, what are those code flies? Come on. THANKYOU. Thank you to everyone who gives us audio, video, and images for the show. Julia, final thought?
I was just thinking that we've done a lot, and it's sort of fun to look at it.
It's fun, and the reason we do it is because you have allowed us to have this apartment at a phenomenally good price, which I have turned into a studio, at least in the spare bedroom.
Yeah.
And without your support and being a kindly landlady,
kindly
landlady. When do you turn 86?
I turn 85 in a month.
Oh, you turn 85? I've been saying you're 85. Well,
I've been saying 85 too, because it was closer to 85 than anything else.
This is just the AA in the U.S. We have the AARP, the American Association of Retired People, the AAR, and you can join that organization now over age 50.
Always could.
You could always could. I thought that was for, well. I'm a member. You're a member.
I have been.
You've helped make me a member.
I think I've told you that the guy who was the head of the AARP.
Don't tell me you headhunted him.
No, but he was on my staff. in Washington, D.C.
In the National Voluntary, what is it?
The National Center for Voluntary Action.
He was on your staff. Now he's head of the AARP.
No, he started out. He came on the staff as head.
How old is he?
Well, at the time he was about 65, and that was in 74, I guess.
You know, if we really wanted to make some money, we'd do a show for the AARP, the old farts that we are.
We should.
We should. And then we'd let them pay us. I don't want to do it. I have no interest in that. I love the FOSI. I love this show. I love the people that help make it possible, especially those of you who do contribute. No show on Friday. I'm going to the beloved San Diego to see the beloved daughter. No show. But I will check in, watch my Facebook page, because I'll tell you who won the Rolex Yachtsman and Yachtswoman of the Year here in the USA. And we hope that, I hope Kohlbrauer wins, the women's anyway, and probably the Olympians, the two guys that won the bronze medal in the 49er class is my guess, but we'll see. Alan Long, great observation. Julia, thank you. You are the best. Out of here. We're all out of here, and I'm going to go down to that nice Rolex dinner Thursday night. Sorry I can't meet up with you Wednesday night, Ed Worley, but we got to be on the road. We hope all of you have a great rest of your week, whether you're down under in Europe or here in North America. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now. And John Emmett will stick up a coaching corner regardless, nonetheless. Thanks, John. No GP watch party, John Collings. Don't have the equipment with me to do that.